I'm tired of this shit, man. Something else that's been like upsetting me is AI. Fucking AI. It's one thing to have AI to work on on in the medical industry to find cures for cancer, detect cancer faster, to find new elements or find different ways to create a better future. But this is really what we're using it for? Bad information? And then it's gonna be used for misinformation? Dwayne The Rock Johnson played by Natasha Lyonne. And not only that, like they absolutely just destroy our fucking environment.
The EPA has reportedly drafted a plan to eliminate all limits on greenhouse gas emissions from power plants. That's according to documents recently obtained by the New York Times. The power industry is one of the top sources of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions, which scientists have said for decades help drive climate change. Now, with the rise of AI technology, demand on power plants is increasing, in large part to AI's reliance on data centers. Ali Rogan spoke with Kenza Bryan, climate reporter for the Financial Times.
Thanks for joining us. How would you describe the environmental impact of these data centers that are at the heart of AI?
Their environmental impact is huge and it's growing. AI data centers are massively contributing to the continued rise in power demand, which itself contributes to the continued rise in global emissions. And most importantly, it's growing faster than grid capacities. And even more importantly, it's growing faster than renewable energy growth, which means that even as data center energy use grows, clean energy from wind, solar, nuclear perhaps, is lagging behind.
And what have you learned about the public health implications of the capacity that's needed to power these AI systems?
Some of the public health implications are very local, but really the effects are more global than local. So pushing up demand for fossil fuels means more CO2 is emitted, which helps global temperatures creep up, which can have local effects through extreme weather events, for example.
What sort of regulatory environment is there for these facilities?
For the moment, there's very little regulatory scrutiny of data center energy use. And one of the only governments in the world that has started to take this seriously is Ireland and its own energy regulators, because they realize that some of the big tech companies that operate in Ireland, including some of the big US ones like Amazon, are starting to put immense constraints on its grid, which means it's difficult for local industry, for local houses to get the power they need. So they have proposed that when a new data center is built, it brings as much additional capacity to the grid as it takes away. But until those grid capacity constraints start to be felt more concretely in the US, for example, I think it's unlikely we're going to see specific regulations saying data centers have to bring more energy to the grid or have to bring more clean energy to the grid, particularly given that Trump wants to make the US an AI superpower. It wouldn't make sense at the moment to constrain that growth.
And in the midst of that growth, these companies that have these AI products and services, they are acknowledging the environmental impact, it seems, and they're talking about what they're doing. What are they telling you about the steps that they're taking to?
Yeah, the only way they're talking about it is by expanding it. The only conversations they're having is not by reducing it, but how do we expand our AI push? How are we gonna make the big bucks? It's never about how are we gonna clean the water. It's never about how are we gonna use energy efficiently. It's always just how much more coal can we burn to allow us to expand.
Mitigate all of the impacts they're having.
Companies like Amazon, Meta, Alphabet, Google's parent company, they all claim accurately to be some of the world's largest buyers of clean energy now. So they make huge investments in wind, solar power, increasingly nuclear energy. The problem with that is those investments aren't always very local. So they might be investing in solar energy in Texas while they're consuming that energy somewhere else in a different US state. And critics of these big tech companies would say their promises don't always match up with the problems that local grids face and local people face.
And what have you learned about the debate over the merits?
It's like if they punch you in the face and start massaging your calf. They don't give a fuck about the environment. It's not even the money they're giving or they're donating or whatever the fuck they're doing is not even towards a better society. It's just for their fucking tax write-off. It's all it's ever for. If you ever hear like a large company ever donating money or giving money away, it's always for a tax write-off. It's just so they don't have to pay taxes later on in the future, and the poor can stay poor and suffer due to the rising temperatures and the following disasters that are caused by the changes in the environment.
Of increasing use of AI in everyday life against the drawbacks that we've just discussed in terms of the impact on the environment and public health.
The AI boom has taken off at a awkward time for the fight against climate change because global temperatures are already rising much faster than scientists expected, and now AI, the International Energy Agency has said, is contributing to a massive increase in power demand, which itself is contributing to an.
I mean, don't you think that the conversations started because of AI? Don't you think it's like the problem or the discussion started because of the problem? Like we've seen the environment get better. Like we used to hear about acid rain here in America, but now that's a thing, not a thing of the past, but it's something so reduced. The conversation about climate should never end. But at the same time, to think that AI came at the wrong time, no, it's always AI has been here for a long time. They just haven't talked about it until now, until it's good.
Increase in emissions, because the problem is we haven't decarbonized our grids yet. They're still hugely reliant on fossil fuels. They need energy even when the wind isn't blowing and the sun isn't shining, which means they're even more reliant on fossil fuels and those stable sources of energy like a gas power plant than other sources of energy demand.
Kenza Bryant with the Financial Times, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Who is she? I need to do some research on her. Where did she study? What are publications? I'm a reporter, Kenza Bryan. Environment reporter for Financial Times in London. LinkedIn. Financial Times London. I received MH 30 under 30, nominated for New Journalist of the Year. Experience, climate reporter, 3 years, investigator, and covering ties between global agribusiness, operating tropical forests. Okay. It's okay. I mean, she has reporting experience, but this is what I see about the environment. Even still, it's just the financial institutions. I don't see like actual. Maybe I need to see her articles. Like, what makes her qualified to cover the environmental news? You can say the same thing about me, but I'm not a journalist here. I'm just someone trying to learn about what's going on. Mm, I don't know. You know what? Her she had a very centrist coverage.
Global temperatures are
I'll be right back. My bad. Okay, we're back. Just a little conversation with my family. Where was I?
already rising much faster than scientists expected, and
Right.
fuels and those stable sources.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
Yes.
Thank you.
A request made on OpenAI's ChatGPT consumes almost 10 times the amount of electricity compared to a Google search. So you're saying if I type "how big is a whale" into ChatGPT, it'll cost 10 times the amount of electricity than just typing it on fucking Google? Support local broadcasting, public broadcasting, whatever. Support media. Support it because this shit's very important. There's another one by what is it? More Perfect Union that covers the water crisis happening near a data center. Here we go.
You're not going to believe what happened.
Tell me everything. I'll show you on Monday.com.
So I started the biggest initiative of the quarter. I did everything right. I used
Okay.
This is our cold water pressure in the kitchen.
I live 400 yards from Mark Zuckerberg's massive data center 2 months ago.
This is where I fill up water for storage. Those are the things we have to fill up to flush the toilets.
So you can see the sediment from the data center. Wow, and that's just from the water coming out of your faucet.
Like, this is apocalyptic. This is the kind of shit you see in movies after the bombs dropped, after the zombie virus has spread, water's limited, and you still see it in the water. Like, this is apocalyptic levels of living.
And this is what's in all the pipes.
Just the well itself is probably 20,000, and that's not counting any of the
All the
faucets.
replacement
Yeah.
of the fixtures and
That's
faucets
just
and
the way.
toilets and the lines that come underneath the house. It's overwhelming because you You really feel like you are up against this huge wall that you can't penetrate. There's nothing that you can do, and they don't care.
Like, I'm gonna make a connection here. Or not a connection. I don't know. I'm just gonna yap for a second. In El Salvador, when you think of El Salvador, you don't think of unlimited water. You think of a third world country. But El Salvador has more water than this. These people are living worse than those in El Salvador. No hate to El Salvador. It's a beautiful fucking country. Turnaround is great. Dictatorship right now. You know, conversation for. But the standards of living is that they get more water than those who live near these data centers. Imagine that. You pay more to taxes. You work 3 times as hard. You do so much more for a substandard of living, especially near these data centers.
I'm here in Mansfield, Georgia, driving by Meta's new 2 million square foot data center facility.
Facilities like this are being used to power things like ChatGPT and other AI tools that are becoming integrated into our daily life.
Data centers, it's going to be a very hot item.
This entire supercomputer is built to power Grok.
We see data centers as the most exciting asset class.
Meta is building a 2 gigawatt plus data center that is so.
Notice what he said. Asset class. Those who have the assets are the ones who are gonna be. Fuck. Those who have assets are gonna be getting much more out of this than those without. The poor are gonna suffer. The rich are gonna continue on.
So large it would cover a significant part of Manhattan.
But data centers come with big costs. From light and noise pollution to the environmental impacts to the potential rising costs of energy bills, these facilities put extraordinary demand on the power grid and require entirely new infrastructure.
Oh my God. They should be responsible for that, not us.
Search the internet for profits that Meta has made, Amazon, Microsoft. They can afford to pay for their own generation.
We came to Georgia to ask 2 questions. What's the true cost of the AI revolution, and who should be paying for it?
Your house is here, and the data center's right there.
It's less than 400 yards.
Beverly and Jeff Morris bought their home an hour's drive from downtown Atlanta in 2016, but their roots in the community run much deeper.
Being in the country has always just been my peace and my therapy. When we found this place, we decided that this was it. It was perfect.
I was actually raised probably 5 miles from here. It felt like coming home.
The data center that's now the Morris' next door neighbor happens to be owned by Meta, the company you know for Facebook and Instagram, but has also been breaking into artificial intelligence. They started construction on this data center campus in 2018.
I swear to God, if I start seeing AI on the fucking fridges, it's over. It's fucking over. It's like the same idea as putting a fucking TV screen into the fucking fridge, which is completely unnecessary. Why the fuck am I gonna be standing in front of my fucking fridge watching Netflix? It makes no fucking sense. Why? Who's gonna tweet off a fucking fridge? Because the next thing is AI is gonna be on the fucking fridge. It's gonna tell me, whoa, you can make strawberries and yogurt. Add some honey into it. Like, no shit. Like, I don't fucking need to know that. And it's gonna tell me, oh, your milk's gone bad. Oh, your bread's starting to get moldy. It's like, I can see through the bag. I don't need AI for that. I sound like an old person right now, but it's true. You don't need AI.
Definitely check.
You don't need AI every day. You need AI for technology in terms of creating new ways. It's The best use for it is in the medical department. If you can find better vaccines, better medicine, a better standard of living, absolutely. But for ChatGPT, for Gemini, for Meta AI, why is it necessary?
Changed everything. They destroyed the environment, taking down all the trees across the road.
Beautiful pines, beautiful forest.
The light pollution is...
We don't have to have a night light in the house. You can walk around the house at night and see everything. It's that bright.
This is a video of the dust from Facebook where the construction was. This is what it looks like right now out my front door. The wind blowing in all of this stuff from across the construction, across the road.
This is all from Meta.
Yeah, I was standing on my front porch. I think eventually that affected our well water. We're on a well here, and we started having issues with our well in 2018. I have to replace the hot water heater. I've replaced 2 washing machines and a dishwasher because of the sediment that's coming in.
A lot of what the Morrises are facing is from the polluting effects of this massive construction, but that's only one part.
Like, I don't know who these people voted for. They could have voted for the party that allowed this to happen. I'm not saying both parties would have gone against it, but, you know, let's say in another universe there was a party that was completely against it and would have stopped it. Let's say these people voted for those who wanted this to happen. Either way, they don't deserve this. Like, you know, be accountable for your actions, but at the same time, you don't deserve to be living where your water is polluted, where you're living as if it's post-apocalyptic. This is not standard of living for anybody.
Part of the story. There are serious costs to communities once data centers.
This shouldn't be standard living for anybody, is what I mean.
Centers are operational too. To explain that, we have to back up for a second. I wouldn't blame you if you were asking yourself, what the heck is a data center anyway? Their origins date back to early, clunky supercomputers or mainframes in the 1950s and 60s. And then in the 90s, with the birth of the internet, the modern data center was born as a way for internet providers to connect businesses and the world to the web. In the 2010s, data centers became larger as they became critical to new cloud storage.
To the cloud. With the cloud, we share a sync photo that allows us to all work on the same documents.
Everything from your pet photos to entire workplaces to files for video streaming, like this video you're watching right now. We're in the cloud. Today, we are in the midst of a tectonic shift in processing needs, as large as the birth of the internet. Artificial intelligence.
A transformational moment for data center demand.
But the thing is, AI processing demands are much larger. One report showed that a Google search using a ChatGPT-like AI feature used 30 times as much power as a normal Google search. In the next 3 years, data center use of electricity is expected to double or even triple. And the state of Georgia has the fastest data center growth in the entire country.
The 2 biggest reasons data centers come to Georgia are that electricity rates for industrials, which is the class that they're in, are 42% below the national average. And the second biggest one are data center tax breaks. They received over $180 million in tax breaks last year.
The week we were in Georgia, a showdown.
What do I mean, man? It's always to get around taxes.
Was happening at the state capitol over 2 bills tied to data centers.
Senator Hofstadter had proposed 2 different bills, and one of them was SB 34, which was the data centers bill, to move the burden of the operational costs of data centers from ratepayers to the data centers themselves.
And what is SB 94?
That is the Consumer Utility Council, a legal advocate for ratepayers and small businesses.
Bills like these are the result of mounting residential anger and the work of dedicated advocates across the state, like Diana Dietz, who lives 50 miles away from the Capitol in Fayette County.
This is a huge industrial project plopped in a residential area. This was the original plan, 122 acres.
That's massive.
And then the Development Authority got involved.
In 2022, officials in Fayette County voted to annex and rezone an additional 412 acres for a data center campus. Fayetteville's City Council voted 5-0 in favor of the development, despite passionate opposition from some local residents. The site was then purchased by QTS, which is owned by Blackstone, for $153.8.
Blackstone. They're everywhere. If they're not taking your home, they're taking your water. If they're not taking your water, they're taking your air. I'm pretty sure they have some connections into that. They're stealing everything from you. These are the secret societies that scare you. They're the boogeyman of every conspiracy theorist. But they're real.
$1 million.
These speculators, investors, are secretly buying up land right next to homeowners. And it was all done so that when we all went to the 4 public hearings between the county and the city, it was a done deal. This is the one that's currently under construction, and this is where Gene and Joe are.
Gene and Joe Marshall live on the edge of Fayetteville in Fayette County on an 8-acre property.
This driveway is almost the line for Fayette County versus Fayetteville, where QTS's property is located. We have absolutely no say in anything that happens over here.
Despite their vocal opposition to the project, living next to construction on all sides of their home has become their daily reality for the last 2 years.
They do nightly pours over here, and in the back part at the other building, the lights are shining and there is noise. 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. So they don't stop. Oh yeah, sure.
And it's not like you can call the cops on these guys. You know, it's not like you could probably try litigating against these large companies, but what's the actual chance you're going to be able to make anything happen? You know, 1 lawyer versus a team of 400 lawyers. And the cops just aren't going to fucking help you. Are you kidding me? They're say, oh, it's construction. You know.
We went to visit Nikki Vanderslice, who heads up the Fayette County Economic Development Authority, a non-governmental agency that played a central role in the marketing of the land for data center development.
For residents who live alongside these data centers, life has become very difficult. What do you say to them?
Well, I say to them that there's a couple of things. One, we were very transparent. The Development Authority was very open about attracting a data center, and there wasn't any resistance until it came to their property specifically.
Vanderslice says data centers are good for the community, even if some don't see the benefits yet.
In 2021, that property paid $36,000 in property taxes total.
You don't need water. You don't need a good night's rest. You don't need to breathe clean air. You don't need it. Come on. I'm the giant company. I am the large business. I tell you what you need. What, you don't like the fact that you have granules of sediment in your water? Well, you're just not appreciative.
In 2024, on raw land, it paid $1.13 million in property taxes. That contributed $760,000 to our local Board of Education. I'm apologetic that they're being impacted, but I also see the benefits of what the companies are doing and how they're improving our economy. And so there's the balance that when you have, 200 out of 120,000 people, that you have to balance what's the highest and best use for the whole of the community.
It's just the height of—
Oh my God. Everybody suffers. It may not be you today. It may not be you having a little bit of dirty water. It's gonna be the entire fucking environment. It's more severe hurricanes. It's rising waters. It's people dying from the heat. It's drowning because the levee broke. You know what I mean? It's more environmental disasters. Everybody suffers in the end. Especially for this situation, man.
Selfishness to imagine that one county's benefit to the huge detriment of 158 other counties in Georgia that now have to pay higher electric bills is okay. It's not okay. It drives inequity. It's very immoral too.
That's Patty Durand, and as you can tell...
And that's another aspect. Just the straight up money aspect. Paying more for electricity for those who are not near the fucking data center.
She does not agree with Nikki Vanderslice. Patty is a longtime consumer advocate and expert on energy policy who's been raising the alarm about rising costs of electricity related to data centers.
Are data centers going to drive up energy costs for residents across the state?
On May 1st, Georgia Power residential ratepayers experienced a 24% rate increase. Just since 2023, Georgia Power has raised rates 6 times.
And related to those rate hikes, remember those 2 bills we mentioned earlier? We were with Patty as she was watching a live feed of the Senate floor.
Today is crossover day, which means any bill that does not get through one side of the House or the Senate to the other side is dead for the year. And right now, Senate Bill 34 is not on that list.
By later that evening, both bills had failed to get a vote. As disappointed and angry as Patty was, she wasn't too surprised.
Georgia legislators are getting soaked with money from Georgia Power.
Is that a conflict of interest?
Absolutely. It is clearly corrupting. This is the...
And completely legal. We see it time and time again. For some reason, this is allowed. You know, so much for checks and balances.
The highest paid utility CEOs in the country. Why is the poorest region in the country paying the most to our CEOs?
$23 million, $33 million.
It's ridiculous how much money they make.
Our time in Georgia is crucial to understanding what's happening all across the country because the growth of data centers is not slowing down anytime soon. And tech billionaires have already been complaining about the amount of red tape.
I'm ashamed for California. I'm ashamed for California. I live here. And the fact that we have 300 plus data centers in a beautiful state with so much just agriculture. We produce so much agriculture, and then having a fucking data center here. The environmental issues are so massive here. It's a massive state, and it's gonna catch up. I give it 5 years.
Down anytime soon bring this growth.
Getting energy permitted is like a very heavily regulated.
He's like a lizard. His eyes look like fucking lizard eyes.
Government function. And if you're talking about building large new power plants or large build outs, that is just a heavily regulated thing.
The regulatory body in question is the federal.
As it should be. You know what shouldn't need regulations? Nuclear energy. Like, nuclear energy would solve so many fucking problems. Less emissions. Essentially, that's like the biggest pro is less emissions. And it's not like wind power. It's not like wind power where every blade needs to be like replaced every couple years.
Energy Regulatory Commission, also known as FERC, an independent and historically nonpartisan agency that regulates interstate transmission of electricity, natural gas, and oil. But just last month, President Trump signed an executive order placing FERC under White House control. and he's been boasting about his ability to fast-track new projects.
We're going to get very rapid approvals in the United States. Like with the AI plans, under emergency declaration, I can get the approvals done myself without having to go through years of waiting.
With this alliance between the federal government, Silicon Valley, and utility monopolies, who's looking out for regular Americans like the Morrises?
During the peak season, our electric bill was maybe $250. Yeah, and now it's probably $400.
Your electricity bill has doubled. Wow.
It's been a struggle.
Every month it's a struggle. Jeff would like to retire, but he keeps working because we have to pay our bills.
Do you think that people should have to pay more because of data centers?
No, absolutely not. They should pay for that difference. It's hard enough for a regular person to pay their electric bill as it is. I don't think that's right at all.
We reached out to the big tech companies, including Meta and QTS, asking for an interview and a tour of their facilities, but both declined to participate in the story.
Duran says
Who would've
despite the
thought?
bill's failure, the fight will go on. A number of other states have similar bills up for debate right now.
The reason I think other states should pass it, whether we do or not, is that data centers could possibly come to their state next. There needs to be legislation to protect
Absolutely.
them because by all accounts, data center growth is going to be very fast.
Before you go, please support our work by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. We're always looking to tell more stories like this.
If you haven't, check out More Perfect Union. I really like their coverage. And it covers a lot of different topics. It's not just like environmental. It's also social, economic. They do great work. Like if we start losing entire sections of different ecosystems, that will be the downfall of mankind.